Kira had never felt such quiet before. The air on Virel was thin, cold, and still, making every sound echo. Her boots crunched against the icy dust as she walked across the barren plains. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting long shadows that stretched like fingers over the uneven terrain. She paused to check the scanner in her hand. The device beeped softly, confirming the readings she already knew. There was nothing. No movement, no life. Just silence. The research outpost behind her looked like a small silver dot against the vast expanse of white and gray. It had taken months to reach this remote planet, and Kira had thought the solitude would be peaceful. Instead, it weighed on her. Each night, when the artificial lights in the outpost flickered on, she felt smaller. The stars seemed endless, cold, and distant. And yet, there was something more tonight, something she could not explain. A shadow moved at the edge of her vision. Kira froze. She blinked and looked again, but the shadow was gone. Her heart began to beat faster. Virel was a planet of myths, or so the ancient texts said, legends of spirits that walked the land before any living being, guardians of secrets long forgotten. Kira had never believed in such tales. She was a scientist, not a storyteller. Still, the feeling of being watched made her uneasy. She checked the scanner again. The numbers remained steady, nothing unusual. She shook her head, telling herself it was her imagination. The cold wind tugged at her suit, and she hurried back toward the outpost. Her hands, gloved and stiff, clutched the device tightly. As she moved, a faint mist began to rise from the ground. It spread slowly, curling in delicate swirls. Kira stopped. The mist was too fine, too deliberate. It was as if the wind itself was shaping it. Then she saw it. A figure emerged from the mist. At first it seemed like a trick of the light, a shadow made taller and sharper by the fading sun. But as it stepped closer, Kira realized it was real. Taller than any human, its form seemed almost luminous, shimmering faintly like a reflection on water. The figure walked with a slow, calm grace, every movement purposeful. Kira's breath caught in her throat. Fear gripped her body. Her knees felt weak. She wanted to run, but her boots felt heavy, as if the ground itself refused to let her move. Her voice, when she finally found it, was barely a whisper. Who are you? The figure stopped a few meters away. There was no weapon, no visible threat, but Kira could not shake the feeling of immense power radiating from it. The being tilted its head slightly and spoke, its voice deep and steady, echoing as if carried across the plains. I am Valen. Kira's mind spun. Valen. The name sounded familiar. She had read about it in old stories, myths from the earliest human civilizations. Valen was said to be a protector, a guardian of life across the stars. It could not be real. She could not be seeing a legend that had existed only in tales. Yet here it was, standing in front of her. She felt her knees give way slightly, and she pressed a hand to the ground to steady herself. Why are you here? She asked, her voice trembling. Valen's eyes, glowing faintly with a light that seemed to come from within, looked directly at her. A threat approaches, one that could end life across many worlds. You are here because your actions can help prevent it. Kira shook her head. I'm just a scientist. I study planets. I am alone here. How could I possibly stop a threat? Valen stepped closer, its movement silent against the icy ground. You underestimate yourselves, human. Even the smallest spark can ignite the greatest change. You hold knowledge and courage that will be needed. That is why I have come. Kira's mind raced. She wanted to think logically, to scan the data, to prove that this was some anomaly or hallucination. But her instruments showed nothing beyond the usual readings. No energy spikes, no strange signals, nothing. And yet, she could feel it. The presence of Valen was undeniable. The air itself seemed heavier around the being, charged with something she could not name. Please, she said, her voice firmer now, trying to mask her fear. Show me why I am important. Show me why a myth would come to me on this empty world. Valen nodded once. Follow me. Kira hesitated. The figure moved toward the horizon, disappearing slightly into the mist. She wanted to warn herself to stop, to call for backup, but something inside told her that running would do no good. She swallowed her fear and began walking, each step tentative but determined. As they moved, Valen spoke, its voice calm, almost gentle. Long ago, humans spread across the stars, curious and bold. You learned to survive, to adapt, to create. But some knowledge was lost. Some stories were forgotten. Legends became myths, yet the spark remained. Kira listened, trying to understand. The spark of courage and wisdom. It is rare, even among the oldest civilizations. It is why I have appeared to you. You will need it. The mist grew thicker. Shapes moved within it, shadows that seemed almost alive. Kira felt her pulse quicken, but she did not look away. She kept her gaze on Valen. The being's presence was strangely calming, even as the mist swirled with a sense of foreboding. They reached a ridge that overlooked a valley of jagged ice formations. The valley stretched for miles, barren and untouched, except for a faint glow at its center. Valen stopped and gestured toward it. There lies what you seek. The answers to your questions will begin there. Kira squinted, trying to see. The glow pulsed softly, like a heartbeat. What is it? She asked. Patience, Valen replied. You will understand soon enough. First, you must prove your readiness. The path is not simple. You must show that fear does not control you. You must act with thought, courage, and heart. Kira swallowed again. She felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. The world felt larger than she had ever imagined. Her small research station, her days of scanning rocks and soil, her loneliness, all seemed insignificant in comparison to the presence of this being and the path ahead. The wind shifted, carrying a strange scent, metallic yet fresh. Kira shivered. She wanted to ask more, to demand answers, but she trusted Valen's calm authority. Slowly, she stepped forward into the valley, following the glow that seemed to call her name. Each step was deliberate. Each breath filled her lungs with cold, biting air. The myths she had read about as a child flashed through her mind. Stories of guardians appearing in times of need, of mortals rising to greatness when faced with impossible odds. Could she be one of those mortals? She did not feel ready. She did not feel brave. But the fear that had gripped her from the moment she saw Valen began to shift into something else. Determination. Valen walked beside her, silent but steady. The mist parted slightly around them, revealing strange crystal formations protruding from the ground. Light refracted through them, scattering in colors Kira had never seen before. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Finally, they reached the center of the valley. A pedestal of ice and crystal rose from the ground, glowing softly. Valen stopped and turned to Kira. Here is where your journey begins. Here is where you will face the first test. Step forward when you are ready. Fear is natural. Courage is a choice. Kira looked at the pedestal, the glow reflecting in her eyes. Her hands trembled, but she straightened her back. I am ready, she said, her voice steady despite the fear that lingered in her chest. Valen nodded. Then begin. Kira stepped forward, feeling the ice cold under her boots. She placed her hands on the pedestal, and immediately a wave of light and energy surged through her. She gasped but did not pull away. Images flashed before her eyes. Stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, humans reaching distant worlds. She felt the weight of history and the power of the spark Valen had spoken of. For the first time, Kira realized that she was part of something far greater than herself, something that had been waiting for her all along. And though fear still lingered, it was no longer paralyzing. It was fuel, a reminder that she was alive, and that she had the power to act. Valen's voice came again, calm and reassuring. Do not fear what you do not yet understand. The path is long, but you will not walk it alone. Remember the spark, Kira. It will guide you when the darkness comes. Kira nodded, her heart steady now. She looked out across the valley, the glow of the pedestal reflecting in her eyes. Somewhere out there, the challenge awaited, and she would meet it. For the first time in her life, Kira felt the true weight of being human, and the incredible potential that came with it. The glow from the pedestal faded slowly, leaving the valley bathed in a soft silver light. Kira stepped back and looked at Valen. The figure's presence was calm, steady, and unwavering. Kira still felt awe, but the fear that had paralyzed her earlier had shifted into focus. She was determined to understand, to learn what this being wanted from her and to prove herself. Valen extended a hand, gesturing toward a narrow path that led deeper into the valley. "The first test begins," Valen said. "It will measure your mind, your courage, and your heart. Each step forward will challenge you, but you must not turn away. The path is yours to walk." Kira hesitated for a moment. She looked at the glowing pedestal one last time, wondering if it had been a dream. Then she stepped forward, feeling the icy ground beneath her boots. The mist had thickened again, curling around her legs and creating shapes that seemed to move. Shadows shifted, forming strange figures that whispered softly in a language she could not understand. As she walked, the path widened into a circular arena surrounded by enormous crystalline walls. Light refracted off the surfaces, creating a kaleidoscope of colors that dazzled her eyes. In the center of the arena, 3 objects floated, each glowing faintly. Valen spoke. "These are the challenges. Choose wisely. Your choices will shape what comes next." Kira approached cautiously. The first object was a small crystal orb, radiating a warm, golden light. The second was a sphere of dark, swirling energy, almost like liquid shadow. The third was a cube, transparent but filled with intricate patterns that seemed to move and shift as she watched. Kira's instincts told her that each represented a different test. "The first test is of knowledge," Valen explained. "The second is of courage. The third is of wisdom. You must face all 3. Each will appear in sequence once you begin. Your choices must come from understanding and thought, not fear or haste." Kira took a deep breath. She reached for the golden orb first. The moment her fingers touched it, the arena disappeared. She found herself in a vast library, towering with shelves of books, scrolls, and holographic displays. The air smelled faintly of old paper and metal. Light streamed from above, illuminating paths between the shelves. A voice spoke inside her mind, calm and steady. "You must find the knowledge needed to protect your world. Choose carefully, for distractions can lead to failure." Kira walked carefully, scanning the shelves. Some books were ordinary. Others seemed alive, with letters that shifted and changed as she looked. She reached for a thick, leather-bound volume, and immediately visions appeared in her mind. Stars forming from clouds of gas, planets spinning into orbit, civilizations rising and falling. Each vision carried lessons about survival, adaptation, and courage. Hours or maybe minutes passed. Time felt different in this space. Kira realized that knowledge was not just about reading or memorizing facts. It was about understanding connections, seeing patterns, and learning from what had come before. She closed her eyes, letting the vision settle in her mind. When she opened them, the library vanished and she was back in the arena. The second object, the sphere of swirling dark energy, floated before her. Kira hesitated. The shadows seemed to reach for her, whispering fears and doubts. Her mind flashed with images of failure, of losing everything she cared about, of being too small, too weak. Her hands shook, but she remembered Valen's words about courage. Taking a deep breath, Kira touched the dark sphere. Instantly, the arena transformed into a stormy landscape. Winds howled around her and the ground shifted beneath her feet. Giant creatures made of stone and lightning emerged from the fog, their eyes glowing with anger. Kira's heart raced, but she stood her ground. She remembered what she had learned in her years of research: observation, planning, and quick action. The creatures charged, and Kira ran. She dodged and leaped, using the environment to her advantage. She noticed weaknesses in their movements, spots where they could not reach her. Using her agility and intellect, she led them into traps created by the shifting landscape. Slowly, one by one, the creatures faltered and vanished, leaving Kira standing alone in the wind and rain. When the storm cleared, she found herself back in the arena again, her body exhausted but her mind clearer. The dark sphere dissolved, leaving the third object, the transparent cube. Kira studied it carefully. The patterns inside seemed alive, twisting in endless combinations. She understood that this final test was about wisdom, the ability to think beyond the obvious, to see the truth hidden in complexity. As she touched the cube, the arena changed once more. She was in a chamber filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflected not only her image but also different possibilities, different choices she could make, paths she could take. Some mirrors showed success, others failure, some danger, and some safety. Kira realized that wisdom was not just knowing what to do but understanding the consequences of every choice. She walked slowly, examining each reflection. In some mirrors she saw herself acting with fear, and the results were catastrophic. In others she acted with courage but ignored caution, leading to mistakes. Finally, she found a reflection that balanced all elements: courage, intelligence, and care for others. She stepped through it. The mirrors disappeared and she returned to the arena. Valen stood before her, their light calm and approving. "You have completed the test, Kira. Knowledge, courage, and wisdom are yours. You have shown that humans, though small, possess a spark that can illuminate the darkest paths. This spark is rare and powerful." Kira felt a strange warmth spread through her body. She had expected exhaustion, relief, maybe even fear, but instead she felt stronger. She realized that the tests were not only about proving her abilities to Valen. They had taught her something deeper: her own potential, her own courage, and her place in the universe. Valen gestured toward the horizon. Beyond the valley, the sky was darkening. Strange streaks of light crossed the clouds, moving too fast and too deliberately to be natural. "The threat approaches," Valen said. "You have been prepared for this moment. Your tests are complete, but the real challenge begins now. What comes next will require everything you have learned." Kira looked at the streaks of light and felt a surge of determination. Fear was still there, but it was no longer paralyzing. She knew that courage, knowledge, and wisdom would guide her. She would not be alone. Valen was with her, and the spark inside her would shine. They moved toward the horizon, the icy ground crunching beneath their boots. The valley faded behind them, and the landscape grew unfamiliar and dangerous. Strange creatures scuttled in the shadows, and the wind carried sounds that made Kira's heart beat faster. But she walked steadily, each step deliberate, each breath measured. Along the way, Valen spoke of the threat. "It is a swarm of machines designed to destroy and consume life. They are relentless and adaptive. No planet has faced them before. Yet humans have qualities they do not understand: creativity, intuition, and unpredictability. These are your strengths. Use them." Kira listened intently, absorbing every word. She felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders, but it did not crush her. Instead, it strengthened her. The test had shown her what she could do, what she could endure. She would not fail. As night fell, they reached the edge of a plateau. From there, Kira could see the swarm moving in the distance. Millions of small metallic shapes glinted in the fading light, moving with terrifying precision. Her mind raced with strategies, possibilities, and risks. She knew that the coming battle would test everything she had learned, but she was ready. Valen placed a hand on her shoulder. "Do not underestimate the power of a single human. Your spark will inspire others. Your actions will matter. Remember what you have learned: knowledge, courage, and wisdom. Let these guide you and you will prevail." Kira nodded. The wind whipped her hair and the cold bit at her skin, but she felt alive in a way she had never experienced before. Fear was still there, but it was a reminder, not a barrier. She turned toward the swarm, her eyes bright with determination. She had faced the tests, and now the real challenge awaited. For the first time, Kira understood that being human was not a limitation. It was a gift. Her spark, the one Valen had spoken of, was real, and it burned brighter than she had ever imagined. The future was uncertain, the threat immense, but she would face it. She would not back down. And as she stood there on the edge of the plateau, the wind howling around her and the stars above shining cold and distant, Kira felt the weight and the wonder of her place in the universe. She was ready. The plateau stretched endlessly under the darkening sky. Kira's eyes scanned the horizon, where the swarm of machines moved like a river of metal. They were countless, glinting with a cold, unnatural light, and their movements were precise, coordinated, and terrifying. She could feel the weight of the threat pressing on her chest. But she also felt something else, an unexpected confidence. The spark Valen had awakened within her. Valen stood beside her, their presence calm but imposing. "The time has come," Valen said. "You have completed the tests. Now you must apply what you have learned. Your courage, knowledge, and wisdom will guide your people and others who will follow your lead. Watch closely, Kira. Observe before acting. Kira nodded. Her hands tightened around the controls of the small device Valen had given her, a multi-function tool that could scan, analyze, and manipulate the environment. She had trained with it in simulations, but nothing could truly prepare her for the scale of the swarm. She focused, taking deep, steady breaths. Panic would not help. Fear would not help. Only action would. The machines began to descend from the sky, spreading across the valley below. They moved in formations, changing shape and direction as if they were one organism. Kira realized that these machines could adapt to any threat, any obstacle. Their intelligence was unlike anything she had encountered. Yet she also noticed something. Despite their efficiency, their patterns were predictable in small ways. Small errors, small hesitations. Kira's mind raced. Observe their movements, Valen said. They learn, but they do not understand creativity. You must use what they cannot anticipate. Kira studied the swarm. She noticed that when one machine changed direction, others followed without question. She smiled slightly. That could be useful. She began tapping commands into the device, creating holographic projections of the terrain, mapping weak points, and marking zones where the swarm might be vulnerable. Hours passed. The sun had set completely, leaving only the stars and the eerie glow of the machines. Kira and Valen moved to a small ridge that overlooked the valley. From here, they could see the full scale of the approaching threat. Kira's mind worked faster than ever, combining logic with instinct, drawing on everything she had learned during the tests. This is it, Valen said. Now you will act. You must lead, Kira. The swarm will adapt, but humans can adapt faster. Use that advantage, Kira nodded. She activated the device. Energy barriers rose from the ground, creating traps and funnels. She projected illusions of false pathways, designed to confuse the machines. She calculated patterns and predicted their responses. The machines advanced, and immediately the first ones fell into her traps. It was working, but the swarm was relentless. They adapted quickly, changing direction, analyzing her barriers and finding gaps. Kira's mind raced. She realized that brute force alone would not stop them. She needed to think like the machines, but also like a human. Unpredictable, flexible, and creative. Think beyond what they expect, Valen reminded her. Use your spark. Kira smiled faintly. That spark, the combination of courage, wisdom, and knowledge, was exactly what she needed. She imagined the swarm as a puzzle, each piece moving in patterns but blind to the bigger picture. Using the device, she created dynamic traps that changed as the machines moved, forcing them to react constantly and, in doing so, making mistakes. The night air was filled with the hum of energy and the metallic clatter of machines striking the traps. Sparks flew and Kira's heart raced. She realized that this was not just a battle of strength, but a battle of minds. Every decision, every calculation could save or doom her planet. Suddenly, a wave of larger machines appeared at the edge of the valley. They were faster, stronger, and more intelligent than the smaller units. Kira's hands flew over the device, adjusting barriers and creating new strategies on the fly. Her mind felt sharp, alive. She directed the smaller machines toward decoys, forcing the larger units to follow. Then, using the terrain, she funneled them into a narrow canyon where Valen had placed energy nets that could immobilize them. The nets fired, and the large machines were caught, thrashing against the energy. Kira felt a surge of triumph, but she knew the fight was far from over. The swarm would not stop. It would adapt again. She needed to prepare for the next wave. Valen observed quietly, their presence a steady anchor. Your courage and planning are impressive, they said. But remember, fear can still be a tool. It sharpens awareness. Do not waste it, but do not let it control you. Kira nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. The machines regrouped, forming a massive wall of metal and light. She realized that her first strategy had slowed them, but it had not defeated them. She needed something more, something unpredictable, something human. She took a deep breath and smiled. Time to use what they cannot predict, she said. She activated the device's most advanced feature, a holographic projection that created false leaders for the swarm. The machines, programmed to follow patterns and authority, immediately reacted to the projections, breaking their formations. Kira had turned their own coordination against them. The battlefield became chaotic. The machines collided with one another, some falling into traps, others disoriented by the illusions. Kira felt exhilaration and fear at the same time. This was what Valen had prepared her for. This was what the test had been about. She was using knowledge, courage, and wisdom all at once. Hours passed. Exhaustion began to creep in, but Kira refused to stop. She adjusted her strategies, always thinking ahead, always adapting. The machines were powerful, relentless, and seemingly endless, but she realized that they had one weakness: rigidity. They could adapt, but only in limited ways. Human creativity, she thought, was limitless. Valen stepped closer, their eyes glowing softly. "You are learning quickly," they said. "This is the power of your spark. It is rare, even among the oldest civilizations. You have the potential to change the outcome of this battle and many others." Kira felt a strange pride. She was still scared, but the fear no longer controlled her. She could use it, channel it, and turn it into action. She felt the full weight of responsibility, but it no longer crushed her. Instead, it motivated her. Every machine she stopped, every trap she set, every decision she made mattered. The battle continued through the night, and by the early hours of dawn, the first wave of the swarm was slowed significantly. Kira looked across the valley and saw that many machines had been destroyed, immobilized, or scattered. The horizon was clear for now, but she knew this was only the beginning. Valen placed a hand on her shoulder. "You have done well," they said. "But the swarm is vast and the threat is not over. You have shown that humans can rise to challenges that seem impossible. Your creativity, courage, and intelligence have given your people a chance to survive." Kira looked at the rising sun, its light reflecting off the icy landscape and the scattered remains of machines. Exhausted but determined, she realized that this was what it meant to be human. To face overwhelming odds, to think, to act, to endure, and to inspire others. Valen stepped back, watching the horizon. "Rest now," they said. "Tomorrow will bring more challenges, but you will face them. You have proven that even the smallest spark can illuminate the darkest night." Kira sat down on a rock, her body aching but her mind alert. She thought about the tests, about the swarm, and about the spark Valen had spoken of. She realized that she had begun to understand what it meant to be part of something greater than herself. Her courage and wisdom were tools, her creativity a weapon. She was ready for what came next. The sun rose higher, casting long shadows across the valley. Kira watched as the remaining machines regrouped, their numbers smaller but still dangerous. She felt no fear, only resolve. She would continue the fight, adapt her strategies, and lead. Humans had survived for thousands of years by using their minds and hearts. This would be no different. Valen's voice broke the silence. "Remember, Kira, this is only the beginning. The swarm is vast, but you are clever. You are brave. You are human. Let that guide you and you will succeed." Kira nodded. She stood, her eyes fixed on the horizon, her hands steady on her device. The battle would continue, but she was ready. She would face every challenge, every wave of machines, and every threat that came. She would lead, adapt, and prevail. And in that moment, Kira understood that being human was not about strength alone. It was about spirit, creativity, and courage. It was about facing impossible odds and refusing to yield. The spark Valen had awakened was hers, and she would use it to protect her world and the countless others that might follow. The horizon was alive with movement, the swarm regrouping for another advance. Kira felt a surge of energy and determination. The fight was far from over, but she was ready. The spark of humanity burned brightly within her, and she would make sure it would never be extinguished. The morning sun cast a pale glow over the valley, illuminating the scattered remains of the first wave of machines. Kira stood on the ridge, her boots sinking slightly into the icy ground. The device in her hands hummed softly, ready to respond to any new movements from the swarm. Her body was tired, her mind alert, and her heart steady. The battle had been won for now, but the swarm was far from defeated. Valen stood beside her, their presence calm and unwavering. "The swarm will return," they said, "and this time it will come stronger, faster, and more organized. You must prepare for the next wave. Remember, Kira, your strength lies in thinking, adapting, and inspiring others to act with you." Kira nodded, studying the valley below. The machines were regrouping, repairing themselves, and analyzing the traps she had set. She realized that brute force alone would never defeat them. They were too numerous, too adaptive, and too relentless. But humans were different. They could think beyond patterns, imagine possibilities, and act unpredictably. That was her advantage. She activated the device, projecting a holographic map of the valley. Using what she had learned from the first wave, she began redesigning the traps. She added layers, combining illusions, energy barriers, and environmental hazards in ways the machines could not predict. Each change was calculated, yet flexible, able to adapt as the swarm moved. Valen observed quietly. "You're learning quickly, but preparation alone is not enough. You must lead others, show them that humans can face impossible odds and prevail. Leadership is as important as strategy." Kira understood immediately. She could not fight alone. Her small research team would need to act alongside her. She turned and activated the communication system, calling for the outpost members to join her at the ridge. Within minutes, a small group arrived, their eyes wide with fear and excitement. They had witnessed the first wave, and now they were ready to follow Kira's lead. "Listen carefully," Kira said, her voice steady and commanding. "The machines will return. They are strong, adaptive, and relentless, but we are smarter. We can think, we can adapt, and we can fight back. Follow my instructions, trust your instincts, and use the traps. Work together, and we will slow them, confuse them, and force them to make mistakes." Her team nodded, their fear replaced by determination. Kira felt a surge of pride. Humans were not perfect, but when united and guided by courage and intelligence, they could accomplish incredible things. The first streaks of the second wave appeared on the horizon. Kira's device scanned the swarm, analyzing their formations and movement patterns. They were larger and more organized than before. Some machines had evolved during the night, adapting to her previous strategies. But Kira had anticipated this. She activated the traps, sending holographic projections across the valley to create false leaders. The machines hesitated, their coordination disrupted. "Good," Valen said. "Now show them human ingenuity." Kira smiled faintly. She directed the team to implement layered strategies. Some members activated energy barriers, others created diversions. While Kira adjusted the holographic projections, the machines advanced and immediately the traps worked. Confusion spread through the swarm. Some machines collided with one another. Others fell into energy nets or miscalculated jumps across the icy terrain. The humans moved as one, guided by Kira's instructions. They adapted quickly, improvising when a trap failed, reinforcing when a barrier weakened, and exploiting every small mistake the machines made. Kira watched with satisfaction as the swarm's advance slowed, the sheer number of machines no longer overwhelming. But then, the largest machines appeared. Towering above the rest, their metal bodies glinting in the sunlight, they moved with terrifying precision. Kira's mind raced. She realized that defeating these giants would require more than traps. They would need cunning, creativity, and coordination unlike anything they had attempted before. "Form a circle around the largest units," Kira instructed. "Use the environment. Force them into the canyon to the north. There, the energy nets will hold them temporarily, giving us an advantage." Her team moved swiftly, setting barriers and drawing the giants toward the canyon. The machines followed, predictable in their logic but unable to comprehend human strategy fully. As the giants entered the narrow canyon, the energy nets activated, immobilizing them for the first time. The humans cheered quietly, their morale soaring. Valen observed, impressed. "You are proving what I have long known. Humans possess a spark that even advanced civilizations respect. Adaptation, creativity, courage, and cooperation are your greatest weapons." Kira allowed herself a moment of pride, but she did not relax. She knew the swarm was adaptive. They would learn from these tactics, and new challenges would come. She needed to anticipate every possible move, every weakness, and every opportunity. As the second wave continued, Kira noticed something unusual. Some of the smaller machines were not attacking directly but seemed to be observing, learning from her strategies. She realized that the swarm was studying humans now, adapting faster than before. But she also saw a pattern. They relied on coordination and hierarchy. Disrupting this hierarchy could give her a lasting advantage. Kira devised a new strategy. She activated a series of holographic decoys, projecting multiple false leaders across the battlefield. The machines, confused by conflicting commands, began attacking each other, their efficiency disrupted. She directed her team to exploit the chaos, reinforcing barriers and targeting vulnerable units. Hours passed, the battle intense and exhausting. The humans were pushing their limits, but they were also learning, growing stronger with every move. Kira realized that this was what Valen had meant by human ingenuity. Machines could calculate and adapt, but humans could innovate, imagine, and inspire. As night fell, the swarm began to retreat, not defeated but slowed. Kira's team was exhausted, their bodies and minds drained, but their spirits remained high. They had faced the impossible and survived. They had fought not with brute strength alone, but with intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Balin spoke, their voice calm and approving. "This is only the beginning, Kira. The swarm will return and they will adapt. But you have shown that humans can rise to challenges that seem impossible. Your spark has illuminated the darkness. Remember this lesson. Humans are stronger than they know." Kira looked at her team, their faces tired but determined. She realized that leadership was more than giving orders. It was about inspiring others to act with courage, to think critically, and to trust one another. Her spark was not just within her. It was reflected in the humans around her. She activated the device one final time for the day, sending signals to reinforce the traps and prepare for the next wave. Every energy net, every holographic projection, and every barrier was recalibrated, ready to respond to the swarm's movements. Kira felt a sense of calm determination. The battle was far from over, but she had learned something important. Humans could face any threat as long as they worked together and trusted their abilities. Balin placed a hand on her shoulder. "Rest, Kira. You have done more than I expected. You have shown that the spark within humanity can shine even in the darkest night. Tomorrow the real challenge will come and you will be ready." Kira nodded, her eyes on the horizon where the remaining machines had disappeared. The wind was cold, but it carried a sense of hope. The humans had fought with strategy, courage, and creativity. They had turned the impossible into an achievable victory. As night fell fully, Kira watched the stars above, thinking of the challenges that lay ahead. The swarm was still out there, but humans were different from the machines. They could imagine, create, and inspire. They could act with courage and wisdom. And that was something no machine could ever truly predict or defeat. She took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility but also the power within her. She had faced the tests, faced the first wave of the swarm, and learned to lead others with strategy and courage. The next wave would be harder, but Kira was ready. The spark within her, and within all humans, was alive, burning brightly against the darkness. The valley was silent for now, but Kira knew that silence was only temporary. The swarm would return more powerful and more organized, but she had learned the value of planning, adaptation, and leadership. She had seen what humans could do when they acted together, and she had discovered the spark that could guide them through the darkest times. The morning air was cold and sharp, cutting across the valley as Kira surveyed the horizon. The second wave of the swarm had vanished into the distance, but she knew it would return, stronger and more organized. Her team had rested as best they could, but exhaustion lingered in their bodies. Yet their eyes were bright with determination, their minds alert, ready to follow Kira's lead. Balin stood beside her, their calm presence a steadying force. "This is the moment, Kira," they said. "The swarm will attack in full force. The choices you make now will determine the outcome. Trust in your spark, in your team, and in yourself. Humanity's strength lies not only in courage but in creativity, collaboration, and wisdom." Kira took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility and the power within her. She had faced the first wave, learned to adapt, and led others with courage and intelligence. Now the final challenge awaited. The valley below began to shimmer with movement, metallic glints flashing across the landscape. The swarm had returned, and it was massive. Her device hummed as it scanned the approaching machines. Thousands, maybe millions, were advancing in coordinated formations, evolving as they moved. The small victories of previous waves would not be enough. Kira knew that she needed to combine strategy, ingenuity, and human unpredictability to succeed. She turned to her team. "Listen carefully," she said. "This is the biggest wave. Every action matters. We will use the terrain, the traps, and the energy barriers. Follow my instructions exactly, but also trust your instincts. The machines are smart, but we are smarter. We are human, and that makes all the difference." The team nodded, their fear replaced by focus and determination. Kira activated the device, projecting a large-scale holographic map of the valley. She began issuing orders, coordinating the placement of traps, decoys, and barriers. Holographic projections created false leaders to confuse the swarm, while energy nets and environmental hazards were ready to immobilize larger machines. The first units of the swarm reached the traps. As before, they hesitated, miscalculating their steps and falling into the carefully prepared snare. Kira watched closely, making adjustments in real time. Her heart raced, but her mind was clear. This was not just a battle of strength. It was a battle of minds, strategy, and creativity. Valen observed silently, impressed by her leadership. "You have grown," they said. "Your decisions are precise yet flexible. Your courage inspires others. Humanity's spark is shining brightly through you." Kira focused on the larger units approaching from the north. These machines were stronger and more intelligent than any she had faced before. They would not fall into simple traps. She needed to think creatively, to use human intuition and unpredictability. She devised a plan. Using the holographic projections, she created multiple false pathways across the valley. The swarm followed, splitting into separate groups, each confused by conflicting commands. Kira directed her team to exploit the chaos. Energy nets, barriers, and environmental traps activated in perfect coordination, slowing the swarm and causing confusion. Despite the overwhelming numbers, the humans fought with precision and courage. They adapted quickly, improvising when a trap failed, reinforcing when a barrier weakened, and exploiting every small error the machines made. Kira realized that this was the true power of humanity, the ability to innovate, imagine, and act unpredictably. The battle raged for hours. Machines fell, were trapped or destroyed, but the swarm continued to advance. Kira's body ached, her mind raced, yet she did not stop. She reminded herself of the tests Valen had given her. Knowledge, courage, and wisdom. Every decision she made drew on these lessons. Suddenly, a massive wave of the largest machines surged forward. They moved with terrifying speed and intelligence, breaking through some of the traps. Kira's heart pounded, but she did not panic. She quickly recalculated, using the terrain to funnel the giants into narrow passages where her energy nets and environmental hazards could trap them. The plan worked. One by one, the massive machines became immobilized, struggling against the barriers and traps Kira had set. The smaller units hesitated, their coordination disrupted by the loss of their leaders. Kira seized the moment, directing her team to strike strategically, using the environment and remaining traps to maximize effectiveness. Hours passed, and the swarm began to falter. Kira's strategies, her team's coordination, and human ingenuity had turned the tide. The machines that had once seemed unstoppable were now scattered, trapped, or destroyed. Kira allowed herself a brief moment to breathe, but she knew the final units could still pose a threat. Valen stepped forward. "You have done what few could have imagined. Your spark has guided your team and illuminated the darkness. Now, finish this. Show the swarm what humanity is capable of." Kira nodded, her eyes sharp. She observed the remaining units, noting their weaknesses and patterns. She activated the final strategy, a combination of decoys, energy traps, and environmental hazards designed to create a feedback loop. The remaining machines, confused and disoriented, began attacking one another, their logic unable to process the chaotic human strategy. Her team moved with precision, reinforcing barriers and activating energy nets. Slowly, the last units fell, their movements becoming clumsy and inefficient. Kira's heart surged as she realized that the battle was nearly won. The swarm, which had once seemed unstoppable, was now collapsing under the weight of human ingenuity and courage. As the sun rose higher, casting light across the valley, the last machines fell. Silence returned, broken only by the hum of Kira's device and the heavy breaths of her team. Exhausted but victorious, Kira looked across the battlefield. The valley, once alive with movement and danger, now lay still. The swarm had been defeated, at least for now. Her team gathered around her, their faces glowing with pride and relief. "We did it," one of them said, voice trembling but triumphant. "We actually did it." Kira smiled, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction. "We did it together," she said. "Humans are stronger when we act as one, when we use our minds, our courage, and our creativity. This is only the beginning, but today we have proven something important. We are not helpless. We can face impossible odds and prevail." Valen stepped forward, their eyes glowing softly. "You have shown that humanity possesses a spark unlike any other. Intelligence, courage, creativity, and cooperation. These are the traits that will allow your species to survive and thrive across the stars. You have inspired not only your team, but countless others who may one day follow in your steps. Kira felt a warmth in her chest. She had feared the unknown, faced impossible challenges, and led others through danger. And now she understood what it meant to be truly human. It was not about strength alone. It was about spirit, courage, and creativity. It was about facing fear and refusing to give in. As the humans gathered their equipment and repaired the outpost, Kira stood on the ridge, looking out across the valley. The machines were gone, but the memory of their threat remained. She knew that they could return, and that new challenges would come. But she also knew something powerful. Humans could meet these challenges, adapt, and overcome. Valen spoke one last time. Kira, your actions today have changed the course of history. The spark within you, and within all humans, has proven its power. Remember this feeling, this moment. It will guide you and others when darkness comes again. Never underestimate what humans can achieve when they act with courage, wisdom, and creativity. Kira nodded, her eyes bright with determination. I will remember, she said. And I will make sure others do too. Humanity has a place among the stars, and we will rise to meet whatever comes next. The team returned to the outpost, tired but filled with hope and pride. Kira remained on the ridge for a while, letting the wind carry her thoughts across the valley. The sun shone down, illuminating the icy landscape and the remnants of the battle. It was a victory, yes, but also a reminder of the challenges ahead. Yet Kira felt no fear. The spark Valen had spoken of burned brightly within her. Humans were clever, adaptable, and courageous. They could face impossible odds and emerge victorious. And now she had seen it firsthand. She took a deep breath, letting the cold air fill her lungs. The swarm was gone for now, but the universe was vast and full of unknowns. She knew that more challenges would come, but she also knew that humans were ready. Together, with courage, wisdom, and creativity, they could face anything. Kira turned to her team, who were finishing repairs and preparing supplies for the next wave, just in case. Today we proved something important, she said. We proved that humans are not weak. We are creative, courageous, and capable of overcoming even the most impossible challenges. This is only the beginning, but our spark will guide us, and we will never give up. Her team smiled, feeling the truth in her words. They had faced fear and danger, but they had also discovered strength within themselves. And now, guided by Kira's leadership and the spark within all of them, they were ready for whatever came next.